Over 100 MPs are calling for a World War I hero who was also one of England's first black footballers to be recognised posthumously. Walter Tull, who played for Spurs, led 26 men across a river on a night raid into enemy territory. But despite being recommended for a military cross, it was never awarded. Richard Conway has the story.
They gave their lives for freedom. Like so many of the fallen, Walter Tull's name is inscribed here in northern France as a lasting memorial. But his story goes beyond his duty as Britain's first black army officer, given he was one of English football's first black players. A sporting career took Walter Tull to Tottenham Hotspur and then on to Northampton Town. But the Great War intervened and set him on a radically different path.
We're remembering Walter Tull.
England
today.
expects had different connotations back in 1918, but ahead of the centenary of Walter's death this weekend, 3 current Tottenham internationals, together with FA youth counsellors, took time to learn about his bravery.
He was a Tottenham player. So, there's a
when you're at school, you taught about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, and it's just a shame that growing up in England, that I'd never heard of Walter and what he'd been through. It's a pretty emotional, moving story.
Both Walter's parents died by the time he was 9. He grew up in an orphanage, overcoming racism and poverty en route to first-team football and an army commission.
Walter's our granduncle. We know from the accounts what he did in the war. As a family, we will always honour and be proud of our granduncle.
Walter's name is listed at Arras as an officer, in spite of military law at the time which stated such men must only be white. He was killed just south of the French town. This is where Walter Tull's story ends, trying to defend against a massive German onslaught coming from the east, known as the Spring Offensive. It was their final attempt to try and turn the war in their favour. But Walter was shot and killed, and his body, like that of so many men, lies somewhere under this soil. But the offensive failed.
Well, these are some of the most dramatic days of the First World War. I cannot describe how close it is to a German victory. We could be looking at the First World War completely differently if it hadn't been for the sacrifices made 100 years ago by men like Walter Tull.
Over 125 MPs have now written to the Prime Minister asking her to intervene over the military cross that was recommended to Walter Tull but never awarded. After 100 years, he might finally be receiving the national recognition he deserves. Richard Conway, BBC News, Achier-le-Grand.
That's